I'm pretty sure most of you are already very familiar with the term speed reading. It's basically reading at a fast speed. An average person reads 250 words per minute. If you read faster than this, you're a fast reader. A fast reader doesn't necessarily mean a speed reader. People who read more are more likely to read faster. But speed reading is actually applying certain techniques to double or even triple the average reading speed. Is speed reading necessary? No, not really. Is it useful? Yes, definitely, especially when you have to tackle your long list of assigned reading or when you're taking a test like IELTS, for example, where you need to read a lot of words in a limited amount of time. There are several common techniques of speed reading, which I will of course talk about in this video, but like many other things, there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to speed reading, and you'll see what I mean as you continue watching this video. The first two techniques are skimming and scanning. Of course, everyone has heard these terms at one point or another, so I won't go too deep on these subjects. Skimming is reading a text at a fast speed to get a general idea of what the text is about. While scanning is to look for keywords, so you try to locate certain words quickly. These techniques can be useful when you're taking a test and you need to find specific answers in a short period of time. However, this won't be quite helpful for your reading comprehension, so I wouldn't say this is the appropriate way of reading. But let's say you forgot to read the chapter your professor assigned to you last week, and you suddenly remembered at the last minute. Skimming can be your lifesaver. And if he starts asking you questions, you can maybe try to scan the page to locate the keywords. It's not harmful to have some tricks up your sleeves after all. The next technique is to practice your eye movement. This approach is like, forget skimming and scanning. Just practice your eyes and the rest in the sun will follow. Read a text from top to bottom, like you would for a text written in Japanese, or read from right to left. These are very common words of wisdom you would hear, and yes, they are helpful if you're trying to move your eyes in awkward ways for the sake of it. And yes, I have seen this definitely increases the speed of your reading. But like I mentioned, they're not helping with your reading comprehension. You can try this technique if you like, but I'm not a big fan of it. But there's also another way of speeding up your eye movement without having to read backward or upside down. It is to section each sentence. This reduces the number of times your eyes move while reading, which results in a faster speed in overall reading. When we're reading a text, we're usually reading one word after another, which means we're moving our eyes after each word. To save this, we will read in chunks. Instead of reading this, she walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, we'll read, she walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies. Instead of moving our eyes 13 or so times, we'll move only 4 times and speed up our reading. And unlike reading in bizarre ways, you don't have to sacrifice your understanding of the text if you practice your eye movement this way. You'll see over time how much faster you can read if you just apply this technique. The next one is actually my favorite. I think this would be more appropriate for those who are already fast readers and are trying to speed up a bit more so that you can finish more books per month. This approach is to use a pointer. Our eyes move much smoother when they're following something than when they are moving on their own. So we're taking advantage of this smoothness to reduce the time taken. So I'm using this pen as a pointer here, and you see I'm moving quite smoothly. And when I find something I want to highlight or to mark, I can just do it right away because I have this pen in my hand. I usually use this method during exams as well. Another trick is like this. I'm using a bookmark in this case, and I would call this blocking. You'll see that I'm reading in chunks while using the bookmark to block the rest to make sure that I'm reading only one line at a time. So I'm combining 2 techniques, and it's something you can do as well. I suppose some people might find it rather strange to use a pointer to speed up your reading, because when I was discussing about this thing with one of my teachers, he was like, no, pointers actually slow down your reading. And I was so confused at the time because the pointer technique has been life-changing for me ever since I found out about it. So I thought long and hard about this controversy, and I came to a realization that slowing down a bit was what I needed to speed up my overall reading speed. I'll explain. If you're a fast reader, you'll know what I mean. We read very fast, almost like skimming, and this creates an arch in our brain to go back to the last sentence just to make sure that we didn't drop or leave out anything. One of my friends told me she even reads a single sentence 2 or more times because of her OCD. In this case, if you use a pointer or a bookmark, you're sure that you're reading only one line at a time and not trying to read the next sentence. This saves you from repetition, and this one thing is what makes all the difference. There are many other ways, like dividing the page, which is a form of reading in chunks but at a larger scale, and starting to read from the middle of the page. These have worked for many people, but this video is intended for people like me, students and bookworms, so I only included the techniques which I think will be more applicable for us. I don't suggest you speed up your reading just for the sake of it. I feel like there's no use reading something when you don't get anything out of it. Do I speed read? Yes and no. When I'm taking a test, I do. When I'm reading a book and it's a bit boring, I do, to skip some important scenes. But most of the time, I don't. Especially when I'm reading some classics. Literature, in my opinion, is too severe. It's not about speed or how many books you finish. It's about appreciating and contemplating. That's the beauty of reading for leisure. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to share this video with your friends, and I would be grateful if I can be of some help to you. I will see you soon. Yours truly, Kath.